Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In this video I just want to talk about some of the earth changes going on. It's something that I haven't talked about in a while. You've probably noticed, like, me and Lewis have a little bit different styles. You know, Lewis likes to talk about, I think, a little bit more about the program and development and its experiences and things like that, whereas I talk a little bit more about politics and earth events and, like, money and stuff like that. But I thought it'd be important to make a little bit of an update video and talk to you guys a little bit about what's happening here on Earth, okay? So it's very important that you're aware of the changes that are occurring and will continue to occur on Earth so that you can manage your emotions better, you can understand what's happening, and you can kind of, just be prepared for what's going on around you, okay? So let's talk about what's going on, what I think will continue to happen. I believe that we will continue to see the EU basically dissolve. Okay, this is due to the way that the EU is set up from a legal and legislative standpoint. It's basically doomed for failure, in my opinion, and I thought that the EU was going to fail for a long time. This is just due to the different cultures of Europe and the difference in finances and things like that, and it's not a sustainable model, the EU. Now, European countries do have some common cultures, common culture and history and things like that. And for the most part, European nations will always be allies due to geographical reasons and many others. But the way the EU is set up currently does not take into account many different factors and differences between the European countries. Okay, and it's not fair to a lot of the countries, okay? So I do think that nationalism will continue to rise in Europe, okay? We see this in Italy right now with the new Italian elections that just went down, and how Italy is now refusing migrants and they want to leave the EU's monetary system and release their own currency. We'll continue to see this. We've already seen it with Hungary and Poland. We've seen it with the UK with Brexit. And this, I think, will continue to accelerate. There's too much power given to Germany in the current system, and it's not fair to a lot of the southern sort of countries and stuff like that. And they're beginning to realize that, and it's not. So I think we will continue to see that. Okay, here in America, I do think we will continue to see a more rise in conservatism. Hopefully, in Christianity as well. We're seeing that parts of the left, part of the Democratic Party, continue to go farther left. I think this will be their downfall because it will push moderate Democrats into a corner. There are lots of moderate Democrats that are more baby boomer generation that don't necessarily want crazy stuff like open borders, and they don't want complete socialism, which doesn't work, by the way. Okay. So I think we will actually continue to see more of a swing right here in America. Partially due to just everything shifts, it shifts left to right, and we're due for that shift right like we're experiencing, and also because of other factors as well, okay? You have to realize the Democratic Party's financials are not in good shape, and many of the fundamentals of the Democratic Party here in America are not in good shape. I'm not even sure the Democratic Party will exist in its current form a couple years from now. I think it'll probably dissolve into maybe a more moderate, more right organization, and then we'll see a branch off where some of the millennials and some of the younger people especially will become even more socialist and even farther left wing. Okay. So it's important that you're aware of the debt situation. It's important that you're aware that all the Western nations are hopelessly in debt that cannot be repaid. If you do the math, America cannot repay its debt. America must basically either default or hyperinflate its currency. Okay, that's just the truth. It's important that you understand that. It's important that you understand the financial situation. Okay, it's important that you understand that student loan debt is in the trillions of dollars. That most people are highly leveraged, or many people in America have too much leverage with credit card debt, and this is part of basically the end of the debt system that we are currently a part of. And it's important that you're aware of this, okay? So we've already seen hyperinflation in Venezuela. We are now seeing hyperinflation in Argentina, and it's spreading to Turkey as well. Okay, I personally believe that this Turkey hyperinflation will set off a contagion that will set off derivative exposure in Deutsche Bank, which is the nation of Germany's largest bank. Well, I don't know if it's the largest bank, but it's the largest holder of derivatives in Germany, and I think Europe overall. And this will lead to a banking crisis, like we saw in Greece, except throughout all of Europe. And this will spread, eventually to America as well, and it'll affect all nations. But it's important that you're aware of this. They don't teach you these things in school. They don't teach you about how the money system works and how debt works and how fiat currencies work. No fiat currency, which is paper currency, like the dollar, lasts more than an average of 30 years. And this is true. The US dollar is doomed, just like all paper currencies. It's because paper currencies will eventually go to their true value, which is the value of basically a piece of paper. Okay? So it's important that you realize that. Okay? So we'll continue to see a degradation of the banking system. Okay? Now, it is important that you are prepared for that. If you want to know a little bit more about financial stuff, I've decided to, for the most part, separate financials and development science into the other channel. So the Luke Pryor, just YouTube video, I'm still putting up some of the cryptocurrency videos and stuff like that. So it's important that you're aware of that, and for the most part, you keep your savings outside of dollar denominated, any sort of fiat denominated asset. Okay, so we like precious metals a lot. Those are probably the safest. Physical silver, and as you guys know, I like cryptocurrencies as well. Okay, so I think that we will continue to see blockchain disrupt a lot of these sort of banking, a lot of these banking things. Right? You have to realize that with the amount of debt that banks have and the way they're currently set up, they cannot compete with that. Basically, it's like the appification of banking, right? We see things like Venmo, Revolut is another one, TransferWise is another one, Abra is another interesting one. There's all these apps now. Basically, it's where an app on your smartphone becomes a bank, right, with cryptocurrencies and access to the stock market and stuff like that. And we're basically seeing the appification of banks, why banks are becoming obsolete, because all your banking services can be done through basically just an app on your smartphone. You know what I mean? So the banking system is ripe for disruption. Okay, if I were to choose two industries that were the most ripe for innovation and disruption, I would choose the banking system and the health system. That's partially why me and Lewis talk about nutritional balancing so much in these videos, right? It's because this is a new paradigm with health. Okay. So I think we'll continue to see the decentralization of healthcare as well. You have to realize that the current healthcare system is part of the overall debt system, and it is also broken. Okay, in the current system, we put way too much emphasis on end-of-life care. Okay, I see many older people spending millions of dollars on surgery so they can live, a couple months longer, basically. And we have to ask ourselves as a society, is this better than putting money towards things like helping children, okay, or putting children on nutritional balancing programs when they have their whole lives ahead of use? And as a society, we're much too skewed towards end-of-life care, okay, and we spend so much money on so older people can live a few more months, even though they're in poor health and their quality of life isn't very good anyway. It'd be much more efficient just to put even older people in nutritional balancing programs so they had a higher quality of life, instead of spending $1 million on a heart valve replacement on an older person so they could live another 6 months, even though they have dementia and things like that, right? It's not a proper use of resources for society, okay? Also, we will see more truth come out about vaccinations, okay? Which, by the way, is much more sinister than you realize. It's not. You have to realize that the current healthcare system is not. Many people get it confused, I think, because they're naive, and they think the current healthcare system is like the doctors are just naive about nutrition and stuff. But it's actually more sinister than that. The way vaccination schedules are set up, and the reason why doctors are putting everyone on opiates and antidepressants, which wreak havoc on your system, by the way. So many people are on antidepressants now. It's quite terrifying. and these people think it's normal, and they're staying on their women are put on antidepressants while they're pregnant, and they're staying on them while they're pregnant. Anything you ingest gets inherited by the baby, so the baby is basically getting a dosage of antidepressants, and the doctors don't tell the women this or anything like that, and so you have to realize that it's much more sinister. Okay, it's much more meant to actually poison us and to keep us stupid and make all the children sick. It's more sinister than you realize. Okay, it's not so much them just being naive, not understanding it. That's part of it, but there are powers above the doctors as well. Okay, so I do think that we will continue to see more of an approach of eating organic food, taking supplements and stuff like this, and even more high-tech devices, using like stem cells and sort of energy therapies. Okay, there'll be a disruption with that stuff as well, and it'll be more of a systems theory and more geared towards preventative medicine and development, like me and Lewis talk about on this channel. And that's what is needed on Earth at this time, especially the pushing down exercise. Okay, the pushing down exercise, I think, will probably lead to somewhat of a new religion, because you realize that the pushing down exercise is much more efficient than current religions, right? So even though I am pro-Judaism and Christianity, you have to realize that the way that they exhibit their message to the masses is not as efficient as just teaching people the pushing down exercise, right? Because the pushing down exercise, the meditation that we teach, is truth. It's bringing truth into your body, okay? And this is teaching people how to access the truth themselves is a much more efficient way of creating spirituality in people, instead of a pastor talking at you and describing the truth, right? Instead of me telling you what the truth is, if I can just teach you how to access the truth yourself, that is much more efficient, right? And it takes all of the opinion out of it, right? So much of the Bible, especially, many pastors and religions make the mistake, and they're trying to decipher the Bible, they tell the future from the Bible, and then the ego gets in the way, right? So if I'm a pastor and I'm telling you about the Bible, and I'm teaching you about God and stuff, some are better than others, obviously, but many times the ego gets in the way, right? Because we're not perfect beings, and sometimes people look too much up to pastors or priests or whatever, rabbis or whatever you want to call it, in whatever religion. They look up too much to them, okay? And they don't realize they're not absolute truth, right? They're just human beings. They're doing their best. And so if we can make a religion around the pushing down exercise and teaching people how to access the Holy Spirit themselves, then that will be a great culture shift, okay? So I think we'll continue to see that. I do believe that Islam, hopefully we'll see a reformation sometime, within the next 5 to 10 years. I think we're slowly seeing it. There are a lot of problems with current Islam and how it's taught to most people that are Islamic, and I think that there needs to be, in order for Islam to be more compatible with Western civilization, there needs to be an Islamic reformation, okay? And hopefully we will see this, okay? This might be also helped by, more Islamic practitioners learning the pushing down exercise, okay? So it's important you're aware of that. What else? I do believe that, so for many of you, you may not be aware of this, but I do believe that you have to realize that there's a lot of under things that happen in what we call the deep state. And there are good guys and bad guys in every sphere of life, okay? And it's important to realize that there are, I believe, good guys in the deep state as well. I do believe that Q is a true deep state military U.S. intelligence good guy, okay? Many of you probably don't know of Q, but if you go on the internet and just type in Q, deep state Q, I guess, on Google would show it up probably. But it's an anonymous poster on 4chan and 8chan, which are message boards basically on the internet that some people go to, and he gives updates about what the U.S. military intelligence is doing next. So it's important to, the reason why I tell you guys this is because it's important to realize that there are good forces out there too, and there's always a higher plan for Earth, okay? and that higher plan manifests itself through us. Okay, and so there was a reason why Donald Trump got elected. There's a reason why everything happens. Okay, and you have to trust in the process. And I do believe we're at a great time of change where Earth is getting better. Okay, so don't believe so many people that think that we're all dying and that global warming is killing us all and everything is screwed because maybe they think that Donald Trump is ruining everything and he's a Nazi. None of this is true. In fact, you'll find that those people usually are not in control of their own lives, and they're not in control of themselves. Okay, and their view of the world is usually an outside manifestation of themselves. And if they were to heal themselves and go to a nutritional balancing program and do the pushing down exercise, their view of the world would improve, right? Because you have to realize at the deepest level, our world is a manifestation of ourselves. And this is part of the great truth coming to earth, okay? I am of the belief this is actually what Jesus meant when he said he would come again, okay? I don't think that Jesus will physically come down to earth again, okay? He might, I don't know. But I believe that what he meant was that the Christ energy is coming back to earth through the pushing down exercise, okay? And as earth learns more of the pushing down exercise, and more people are doing it, and raising their consciousness, this is part of the Christ consciousness that's coming to earth at this time, okay? As many more people awaken, okay? And this is part of the fulfillment and destiny of human beings on earth, okay? I do think we will also see a huge economic boom into space, okay? We study like SpaceX and stuff like that. There's also lots of deep state technology, I believe, where more and more things will get released from the deep state sort of technologies with like anti-gravity and stuff like that. And we'll see things like asteroid mining and stuff like that. Okay? I believe this will be part of the economic boom in like 2020 through 2030. The next decade after this will be space orientated, and I think a large part of the American economy will be space-based actually. Okay? I also expect us to continue to see the revelations with the pedophilia and satanic things. Okay? Pizzagate is real. It's important that you understand that. Sometimes people, they don't understand they don't understand all the sides of the issue, so they see something ridiculous. They see something like, oh, a random pizza place is like where they're trafficking children, and then the mainstream media will tell you it's ridiculous and stuff like this. But it's not the whole picture, right? If you study it enough, if you study Pizzagate enough, and you study the people that run these pizza shops, and who they're linked with, and who they've taken pictures with, some of these people are prone to mistakes, right? So these people, part of this pedophilia satanic network, they will take Instagram photos, for example, of themselves with other politicians and stuff at parties, and Twitter. They'll make Twitter posts and then they'll quickly delete them. Before they're deleted, people like me will archive them, because on the internet, everything lives forever, and you can go on the internet and you can archive some of these Instagram posts and stuff like that. And if you study it enough, like I have, you realize that it's all linked. Many of them have tattoos that link themselves. If you study part of the sex cult, I believe it was the show here in America called Small Town, I believe. But anyways, they were part of a sex cult in Hollywood. All the women were tattooed. Basically, the women were branded. Basically, the tattoo was served as branding. Okay, and if you look at people that have these tattoos and who they're taking pictures with, they're taking pictures with some of the members of these pizza shops. These pizza shops, many of them have basically, it's like satanic. If you look closely enough, the pictures that they hang on their walls are satanic. Because that's part of how witchcraft and satanic things work, right? Is how it works is that you actually let people know to a certain extent what you're doing, and that gives you power, right? So part of the magic, part of like the witchcraft is like, if you are wide open about it and you publicly are open about the fact that you're using these things, that's what gives it power to a certain extent, right? So it's important that you realize that they have to be certain. They have to be open about it to a certain extent, or else the magic itself wouldn't work. Okay, so it's actually right in front of us in a lot of cases, and we will continue to see that many of the elite, this includes politicians that many people look up to, many people in Hollywood, are part of this satanic sort of pedophilia network. And the documents that will come out that will show this will be horrific, and they will absolutely shock most people that are not aware of them, because they include the rape and torture of children. Okay, and this has been going on throughout planet Earth's history. Okay, just that now with the internet, documents can be released that all of Earth can see at the same time, and this will be a shock to the consciousness of Earth, and this will make an accelerated move away from the established systems, because people will be so shocked at the old power systems and what they were a part of that this will accelerate their dissolution. Okay, as people see the shocking things. Okay, so expect that as well. Okay, expect the continued world. And you realize it has to happen slowly, especially at first, because the human consciousness, most people's consciousness, could not handle it this time, right? Most people cannot handle the truth about this sort of satanic pedophilia stuff. It's too shocking, it's too hurtful to the soul, and most people cannot handle it. So I think the public's awareness cannot handle it. So the good guys in the deep state, they have to, and the angels, the hierarchy, has to show it to Earth slowly at this time. Okay, that's why people like me are already aware of it. Whereas, you know, before people like me were aware of it, only other certain people were aware of it. Okay, and then it's slowly dripping and manifesting through the consciousness of more and more people. Okay, and it has to be this way, because it can't just be everyone knows about it all at once, because it's too shocking. Okay, but continue to see this. Okay, you'll continue to see this, and like I said, it will be horrific and shocking, and it will continue. People will be so horrified by it that it'll just make people want to flee the power structures more and more. Okay, but this is important on Earth. It's important that we know these things so that we put into it, and it's important that these old structures die. Okay, you have to realize that the education system is also broken. Okay, we will continue to see more homeschooling and stuff like this, and we will see that many colleges will go bankrupt. Okay. Many of even the prestigious colleges that we really look up to, that are, you know, the best colleges in the world, a lot of them will go bankrupt, because this is part of the changes, and the whole education system was made for an older time and must be broken down. Okay, so always do the pushing down exercise. Continue to do your programs. Don't be fearful of what's happening. Understand what's happening, so that you can manage your own emotions. Okay. And that you can help others, because many people, it's important that the people like us help the people that will be shocked and that will be frightened by what's happening. Okay, it's important that we help the others, because they're not going to understand it like we are, and they're not going to be as strong as we are. Okay, so it's important that you realize that. Okay, before I ramble too much, I'm going to end the video now, but that's it. I hope you guys are doing very well. Okay, this was just a general update on things I think are happening, because I think it's important that you guys know what's going through my mind and what I believe is happening and what will continue to happen. Okay, so that's it. Love you guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye now.